Take three. um, so I'm up. Like I don't have to get up in the morning. I'm just like, uh, I'm up. Like I don't have to get up in the morning. But you know, that's life, right? So I'm into true crimes and unsolved cases and trying to get in the mind of a lot of serial killers. Yeah, so I like to unlock the mind of a serial killer. I like to unlock the mind of why they did it, how can serial killers live two lives, and how successful they get away with the crime for so long. I'm also into unsolved cases. I love those, very big on those. As you guys are very aware, today is Friday the 13th. Today also marks, I believe, the 27th death anniversary of Tupac Shakur, um, who was tragically murdered in '96 in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. R.I.P. Tupac, one of the greatest. Um, but I like cases. I like to rattle my brain. I like to dig around and do research when I'm bored, and it's very, very strange sometimes. But it's because I was also in school for my criminal justice degree, so it's kind of fun when I find books. Like this one's my favorite book, Unsolved Murders. Um, True crime cases. There's a bunch in here. I think it's like 10 or so, probably. I'm not, really don't remember. I don't know.
Oh, now I got on the.
All right, we're gonna keep this very PG, Mr. Sir.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Okay,
very
I'm not
PG,
gonna say
very
nothing.
13.
I'm not gonna say
Okay,
nothing.
okay, because trying to do this stuff and I'm like all over the place.
Hmm.
So I I like to solve. I like to attempt to solve a case. It's very intriguing and very fun. Never know why. I've always been interested in all things criminal justice, all things law. That's just been my thing for a really long time. But I want to dive into a lot of the unsolved cases that are in the book. Um, because I found some very interesting. I don't know why I thought they were just strange. Um, like this one that was in the called the Axe Murder. It happened in Iowa, in Villisaki, Iowa. Um, and it just like it was a strange case because it was a family, like a mom and a dad and the children. So like that's the house now. It's a tourist attraction. But it was just why?
Right.
What made him do it? Like
What made him snap?
yeah, like it wasn't the husband that did it.
Hmm.
It was like a stranger, but it was just like what made him target this particular family
Right.
and what was his trigger for it? Like why did he choose an axe? Why did he not only slaughter the parents but slaughter the children?
Hmm.
Like and I never understood it. Still don't. Still be trying to figure it out. That's the case that just racks my brain.
Right.
But in the book, it's a lot of murders
Mm.
that went unsolved. The Tupac and Biggie cases in here. They talk about it briefly. People like currently, I guess someone has confessed to the murder of Tupac, but there's been a lot of conspiracy around Tupac's and Biggie's death. Who did it? Why they did it? Some people has been named. So just watching like a lot of the documentaries and movies that have come out over the years about the case, it's like it gives you a list of suspects, and people are like, "Oh, we already know who did it. Who they have an idea who did it," but I still be confused. It's like, what was the gain out of it if those people did have a hand in it?
Right.
I still, from my point of view of seeing a lot of the Tupac Shakur documentaries, I always thought it was a gang hit
Right.
just because he got into the fight at the casino.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. The cops could be wrong. America could be wrong. Who knows?
Right.
The person that's been confessing to it apparently has been arrested for the case.
It ain't him. They saying it's not him.
He's been confessing for it for a really long
I
time,
know.
so it'd be crazy to confess to a crime that you know you didn't
That's what they
commit.
do. But he might want the attention. He might want like, oh, I'm the one that killed Tupac. You know?
But everybody that was in that car that night is dead.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
it's like, is he just the fall guy because they're all dead, or is he because they're all technically are dead that because he was in the car, it's conspiracy to the murder?
Right.
But I feel like if he didn't kill Tupac, while he has been saying it for damn near 3 decades,
Gotcha.
it's it's a very like very strange.
It is.
Like
I agree.
people's like, "Oh, you're too young to know about this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I was like 2.5 when Tupac died.
Who said that?
I was 3 when Biggie died. You know,
Who said that?
so just in general, you know, people always feel like because I'm technically not old enough to remember, but
Yeah, you're gonna be 31. You're old enough to know a Biggie song.
of course, I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s.
Exactly.
I love me some Biggie. I love me some Tupac.
Same.
Got a lot of their songs on my Apple Music list.
This is why I love you, because we can listen to the same type of music.
But it's just when you talk about like not one but two of the biggest deaths in hip hop back to back, it makes you wonder on who, what, when, why, where. Like, well, we know where. We're assuming why.
Right.
We're assuming who, because nobody really knows. But the people that were there at those events, and it's just a lot of questions. I'm hoping that Biggie family does get justice.
Right.
R.I.P. Biggie. You know, hopefully his family, his children, his mom do get the justice that they deserve, because it is a tragedy to bury a child, to lose a father, to lose a spouse, you know. So hoping that eventually they do get justice. Hopefully they can solve Biggie's murder and stop letting the conspiracies run wild. A lot of people think that with Tupac's death, that the LAPD had a hand in it. I'm like, who knows? I wasn't there, you know, was not there. But these are a lot of the conspiracies that are out there. So we're just trying to bring awareness, especially marking the 27th anniversary of Tupac's death. You know, to let people know to just fact check and just hope and pray that these families get justice, because they didn't deserve to die. Nobody deserves to die, honestly. Nobody's allowed to play God, judge, jury, executioner, nobody.
Even if it's somebody bad like Jeffrey Dahmer.
See, Jeffrey, like serial killers like that. I don't condone murder, but serial killers deserve a special place in hell. Serial killers, pedophiles.
I'm interested in hearing your views on the death penalty.
I feel like the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I, as a criminal justice student, I always look at the facts of the case and
Mm-hmm.
how severe the case is. I feel like there's a lot of injustice, especially with minorities,
Right.
how our sentences are a lot harsher than our white counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stories I've read, when defendants have committed the same crime and only one gets punished and the other one doesn't get a harsh
Right.
punishment, I always think that's very unfair. Um, but I always tell people, especially with minorities, that the system is stacked up against us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go out there and commit crime and then cry about it. I'm sorry. Like, at this point in day and age, we all know that the system was never designed to protect us,
Right.
to treat us fair. So why go put yourself in a predicament to
System
put
sucks.
yourself behind bars? Especially, I listened to an audiobook of Stanley Tookie Williams, one of the co-founders of the Crips. Listen to his story and why he glorified going to prison and how when he got there, his point of view
Mm-hmm.
changed. This man died on death row. Like, he was a death row inmate. He died at the hands of the correction system. But I felt like when he turned his life around and started educating people, especially the youth, on jail and other topics,
Right.
I feel like that he shouldn't have died. I feel like that he should just continue to remain in prison
Mm-hmm.
and serve out his sentence until natural death causes came in.
Right.
R.I.P. Tuki. Um, Never glorify the gang culture, because gangs do cause a lot of harm sometimes. Sometimes they can be good. Some kids turn to it for family because a lot of the communities are broken. But just hearing his point of view on why he glorified it was a very different outlook on the prison system and how he changed his point of view once he got to death row. Um, but I feel like the circumstances have to match the cause. I feel like child rapists, pedophiles, rapists, period, this definitely deserve to die. Like, I feel like raping anybody, especially children, you're lowest of the lowest. Serial killers are lowest of the lowest. I don't get how they
Mm-hmm.
live double lives. That's just weird. How they can get away with it. Jeffrey Dahmer got away with it for a really long time. Watching his documentary and then hearing his father feel like it was his fault because he introduced him to basically mummifying animals.
Wow.
Um, I tell people sometimes killers are born or they can be made. It's depending. But sometimes I feel like the signs are always there,
Right.
especially with children. I'm not saying that all serial killers are white. I believe they're all white. Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. I don't really look at race when people's out there just blankly killing people for no fucking reason,
Well,
just to be sadistic.
the DC sniper was black.
Yes, um there's one other black killer that I forgot his name, but well, let's look this up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look up the serial killers and their races. Let's see how many
Yeah.
black serial killers are, because I never really looked up, and I don't look at race, but
Nah.
that is a good point of how many black serial killers there are.
DJ Tech, salute. We're just having a conversation about
Random
Tupac's
shit, random
random
shit.
stuff and anniversary of Tupac's death and all that.
Okay, so according to Office of Justice Programs,
Mm-hmm.
it says 82% of American serial killers were white,
Right.
15% were black, 2.5% were Hispanic, 87% operated alone, while 10% committed crimes in pairs or groups. Some committed crimes in specific geographic areas, while others travel widely.
Right.
So it says 7 of the most notorious serial killers are Jack the Ripper, Jeffrey Dahmer, Harold Shipman, John Wayne Grace, H. H. Holmes, Pedro Lopez, and Ted Bundy.
Wow.
According to this, those are the 7 most famous serial killers. We all know Jeffrey Dahmer. He was a sadistic bastard. I'm glad somebody killed his ass.
What?
You know, motherfucker. Watching his documentary made me sick to my stomach. Should never turn that on. You know,
Right.
it was just crazy how he got away with it for so long, and I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck he managed to do that.
Right.
Like,
Well, so long.
yeah, so long. Like,
Right.
it was just really, 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 really weird. I like to unlock the mind of serial killers, so I'm going to pick a sadistic serial killer. Let's go to Jeffrey Dahmer, since we're already talking about his sadistic ass. Let's unlock the mind of Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer, guys. American serial killer. He is born May 21st, 1960. That's crazy because my dad was born that year. My
Oh,
dad
shit.
was born in that month, May
Wow.
17th, 1960.
Wow.
That's very strange as fuck.
Yeah.
He was a cannibalist in Milwaukee, a sex offender who killed and dismembered 17 males between 1978 and 1991. He died on November 28th of 94 at the age of 34 in jail. Well, we all knew that. So we watched the documentary. We all knew that he died in jail. Let's see. He committed his first murder in Bath Township, Ohio in 1978. And a second murder followed in 1987. And during the next 5 years, he killed mostly in Milwaukee. Another 15 boys and young men were his predominantly stuff that he likes, mostly African American, which are like the most part poor African Americans. Asians or Latinos was his, I guess, favorite, when put it like that. The guys that he liked the most. He was a pedophile, according to this, or sex offender. He liked young boys. That's a pedophile in my book. We're not going to talk about the fact that he was homosexual. We're not going to talk about that. That's here nor there.
I didn't even know he was a fag until like I saw like the.
Can we not say the word fag?
Hey, Uncle's here. Uncle Freezy, salute. My bad. I'm sorry. I don't want to say fag. I'm sorry.
Yeah, do not say fag. We will get banned by the LGBTQ plus community.
I don't want to say that. I didn't like when the miniseries came out. I didn't know he was into men. I'm like, what? I didn't know he was like that.
I didn't know either. He liked the members. His victims were homosexual members of the racial minority group. I guess that's what he clung to the most.
DJ Tech, salute.
He also ate his victims, which I think is disgusting.
Yeah, that was just crazy.
But him just cooking people randomly was weird.
Hey, she's on. She had a live on here tonight. That's Uncle Freezy.
Hi.
We just talking about random stuff. We talking about like she's into like crime stories and solving cases, and we just talking about stuff like that. And then like the anniversary of Tupac's death is today.
So he was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms.
Right.
A 16th consecutive life term was added and made for murder he committed in 1978. Regardless of how many life sentences that nigga got, that nigga should have got the death penalty, honestly. This should never been like, yeah, nigga, we just gonna throw the life at you 15 times. Like, I feel like that was stupid.
Right.
Like, he should just been sentenced to die. But
I think I was in high school. When did he start killing? It was the 90s, right?
No. He started killing. His first crime was in 1978.
No, but I mean, like, when he started eating people, he got caught in the 90s, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like I was in high school when he was like doing that stuff. You know.
I think his last victim ran away. That's how he wound up getting caught. If I'm not mistaken, according to the Netflix documentary,
Right.
he was caught because the last victim did get away.
Mm-hmm.
But I always try to dive into their childhood because I feel like their childhood plays a very big part on why they're so sick and sadistic. They claim that he was deprived of attention as an infant. That's not a fucking excuse, okay? They're not going to do that. They said that he was described as an energetic and happy child until the age of 4 when he went surgery for a double hernia on his groin.
What was that from?
That's all they say. Don't say where he got it from.
On his groin, he had a double surgery on his balls.
Yeah, he had a hernia.
Wow, how do you get that?
Don't even
He had to have been doing some major jerking off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he was 4.
He was 4. You was 4? Oh, okay, my bad. I didn't know.
He was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, schizophrenia, personality disorder, and a psycho disorder.
Wow. So he was already messed up like from the jump. Then he was already like screwed up in the head. Okay.
Yes. Like I said, a lot of killers are either made or born.
Right.
His dad felt like, he was the cause of his stuff. They said that he had an IQ around 145, which places him in the range of borderline genius.
Right.
He probably was a genius. Who fucking knows? Can't tell you.
A genius that was going around and eating people?
That his dad noticed. They said that his dad noticed that he was acting a little strange. They go in to talk about the psychopath and neglect.
Your son was eating people. That's more than strange.
Right. This is where, all right, so let me make this very clear. We're not glorifying Jeffrey Dahmer. We're just, diving into the mind of a sadistic serial killer. Like I said, I'm a criminal justice major. I like to unlock the person's mind to find out whether they was born a psychopath or they was made a psychopath. And that they exhibit this behavior before the killing started. Like, could this have been prevented? That's like when you talk about school shooters, right? Predominantly the school shooters and mass shooters are white, right? So you always want to know their backstory and what triggered them to do it. With a lot of school shooters, the kids was bullied or they come from fucked up home lives. We're not condoning killing. We do not believe that you should go take out your issues on random fucking people. That is never the fucking case. People like that do need help. But I always think there's always an underlying issue. That's like with a lot of children.
Sandra.
That's like a lot of children who have been molested or raped. They turn to predators.
Right.
You have to always unlock the cause and effect. Everything has a cause and effect, whether you want to admit it or not. That's like with R. Kelly. He was molested growing up. He said in one of his songs,
was he molested?
Yeah, he said his sister took his virginity at like 14, I believe. This does not excuse his behavior, but this explains his behavior. And
I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
How he became a predator himself. We're never making an excuse for these men. Never.
But he didn't come out and say that, though.
Huh?
He didn't come out and say
that. He wrote a song about it. He wrote a song about it.
I know, but did he come out and say he was a predator, though?
No, but that's what we're gonna call him, predator. Okay, just gonna label it what it is.
Okay.
His predatory behavior. Let me rephrase that. His predatory behavior is the cause of him being, from what he said, raped by his sister. In his song called "Admit It," it's on YouTube. I don't know if it's still up there, but I know I listened to it. It's like 19 minutes long. He talks about the whole thing. You always have to just look at the facts. Don't just dismiss people's behavior. You always have to have the cause and effect. What happened and why did this occur before we just go out here and just be like, oh yeah, they're just sadistic or they're just a predator. But you don't know what happened underneath all of that. Were the signs there before? Like, it's a lot of things that people don't look at, but that's what I'm going to school for, because I like to learn about it. I like to figure out, are there ways to prevent serial killers or mass shootings amongst random strangers and children that are in school? Like, how can we prevent this stuff being a repeated cycle? And what can we do to change the behavior or prevent the behavior? We're not going to be able to save everybody, but it just opened your eyes to a lot of aspects of stuff when you talk about serial killers and their sadistic ways and why they go on a killing spree. Or there's like, sometimes there's like with serial killers, sometimes they will kill for 5 years and then take a break and then kill again in another 5 years. Like, what were they doing in between those breaks? A lot of them serial killers have families. They live double lives. Still don't really understand it how. That's a mystery I'm still trying to solve and trying to figure out. Because there's always a cooling off period between killings for a certain amount of time, and you always got to figure out why. Why did they disappear for 15 years? Why did they disappear for 5 years? Like, why did the killing stop? We're not saying just go continue to kill. I'm just saying, like, let's figure out what was the cooling off period. What was they doing in between that time? And how do a lot of serial killers get caught? Eventually they get sloppy. Sometimes they never get caught. Sometimes they just die, and that's just the end of that. But eventually everybody gets sloppy. Because after a while you get older and you no longer can go drag the body 20 blocks or throw that shit in the trunk of your car or chop that shit up. Like, eventually you can't do the things you were doing before. Like, so eventually they do get sloppy. Eventually they do get caught. But getting back to Tupac, his death, to me, is still unsolved because I still have about 55 questions to ask this man. But you're never going to get the actual truth because everybody in that car is dead. So it's a lot of speculations on his death, still surrounding his death. Especially with Biggie's death, there's like little stuff starting to come out, but there's no real pinpoint on who actually did it. It's just a lot of finger pointing at this moment. They're saying they did it. They're saying they had a hand in it. It's just a lot of finger pointing. I feel like eventually maybe somebody on their deathbed will come out and say who did it, hopefully. But we're still waiting almost 3 decades later for that person to die, I guess. The person that actually knows the actual truth of what happened. Because the people involved are not going to say it. But another big event that we do want to talk about is 9/11. 9/11 marked 23 years since the Twin Towers collapsed. I know for me, I was in elementary school. Like I said, I'm telling my age. I am about to be 31, you guys. I'll be 31 at the end of the month. So have been around the block. I've seen some of the most craziest shit. But like I was telling my coworker, I said you had to be there to understand the feelings and emotions of the people, especially being a born and raised New Yorker. That day was very scary because it's like New York is supposed to be safe. I feel like that day we should have been one of the safest cities. They shouldn't have been able to not only take down the towers, but hit the Pentagon. And thank God, the last plane, from what I was told, they're supposed to went into the White House. The passengers were able to crash the plane into the field. They did lose their lives. RIP to everybody that did not make it out the towers, plane victims, the police officers, the firefighters, the EMTs that ran into the towers. That they shout out to them. May you guys continue to rest in peace. You know, the people that were on the ground that died years later from cancer or whatever illnesses they got from being at ground zero. It just was just like hearing my principal talk about it on the loudspeaker, seeing it on TV, seeing the president at the time, where he was at when he got the news, his reaction, how he had to stay calm, because he was in the middle of a classroom with children at the moment the Twin Towers got hit. So he had to keep calm, cool, collected, so he won't freak the little kids out. Shout out to George, for keeping you calm that day with those children. Was it George or was it Bill? I don't remember. Hold on, let me see.
No, it was George. It was just George. No, it wasn't George. It was the son. What's the son name? It was Junior.
George.
Yeah, George.
His name was George too.
My bad.
It
was Junior.
Yeah, I was like, is his name George too? It's hard to keep track of these presidents. There's too many of them. But just seeing him calm, cool, collected in front of those children, knowing that his nation was under attack and he had to be so poised, because just knowing what his mind was going through in that moment and how he has to now address the nation, just hearing those words come from his mouth, were just like, what? I'm a little kid, so I'm curious, but then seeing the second plane actually hit the towers, live action. It was like, it was like you're watching a movie, but this is real life. Like it's like a straight out of the movies type of event, which was very, very scary because I'm like 7, 8 at the time, so I'm just listening and watching. Wide-eyed kid, curious. I still to this day have a lot of questions on how they was able to take not one but 4 planes, crash 3. Still curious on that. It's a whole bunch of conspiracies around that. It's like, because it leaves a lot of questions, like how was they able to get past the airport security? Like how? Like they got to put their bags through the machines. Like, so it was like a lot of questions. Well, a lot of people don't know that was not the first attempt on the towers. That was just the first successful attempt. And I feel like that, in my opinion, that they dropped the ball big time.
Yeah.
The first attempt was in February of '93. They did manage to kill 6, injure 1,000 with a bomb in the garage. I wasn't born until months after that, but that was the first attempt on the towers, and I feel like they should have been a little bit more prepared. I
agree.
Just in case they did try again. So I did feel like they did drop the ball a lot with the Twin Towers. I feel like they can have stepped up security measures, even with like airports and stuff, like, like just making terrorists known, like, all right, we got to take better measurements. This has to be something that we can do to make this never happen, like, whatsoever. But that started the boots on the ground, the war in Afghanistan for 20 years to take down ISIS, take down Al-Qaeda leaders. A lot of troops went to war. A lot of troops came home. A lot of troops didn't come home. RIP to the fallen soldiers that didn't make it home to their families. Shout out to the ones that did. The ones prayers to the ones that got injured. They tell their stories. Our vets are our biggest priority. My dad is a vet. Um, Shout out to my dad. Thank you for serving this country. Thank you for all the servicemen that's still on the front line serving the country. You guys don't have to do it, but you do it because you love this country. Um, but just so, like, tell me your experience. Like,
For 9/11.
yeah.
I was supposed to be down there. Like I told you, I was supposed to be down there that day. I was there. The last time I was there was August 2001, and me and my homeboy went down there, and uh, uh he was going to the WB store because they had like the Warner Brothers store, the Superstore was still there, and he bought something out of there, like some mug or something, and I remember being in like the basement part of it because they had like stores down there, they had like bakeries and stuff, and the elevators were there, they had payphones there, and for whatever reason, did not feel comfortable in there. It was just weird. It was like a weird, vibe I was getting, and I haven't like mind you, I haven't been there since like elementary school. Like we had like a school trip to the World Trade. So after the '93 bombs, that was like my first time being back in that building, and it just felt weird being there. And we were supposed to have lunch with his mom because his mom used to work in that area, and there was a pizza store across the street from I think it was Tower 1, and she couldn't make it, but we still went to the pizza shop and had pizza and went about our day, and then a month later, he calls me like the night before. So this is like September 10th. He's like, yo, like I want you to I'm going to the World Trade. He was buying a gift for his one of his friends, and he's like, he asked me to come with him. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I was supposed to be down there that same day when everything happened. The only reason why um I didn't go down there is because I woke up late to get ready. But when I woke up, like my mom had woke me up and I saw I had already missed the first plane. So I saw like that they had the live feed when the first plane hit down here, and the news was like, we had like the newscasters talking. So I saw like the outline of the first plane hit in the building. But I saw when the second plane was coming in, and I'm thinking, oh, so it's a regular plane. It's gonna fly by, and when I didn't see it fly by, and I saw the explosion outside of from the other side of the building, that's when I knew it was a terrorist attack. Cause that looked deliberate. When you see it coming in from an angle and then it went through the building, I'm like, that looked deliberate. That didn't look like no accident, and it looked like something out of when I saw it on the first Die Hard when like the Nagatashi Towers exploded in
Yeah.
that movie. John McClane like leaped off that building and exploded. Yeah, that it looked like something out of Die Hard. So um, that's when I knew it was a terrorist attack. And my grandfather, he used to work at sea and with the Marines. So he already knew. He was like, yo, this is a terrorist attack. This country is um under attack, or whatever. And it was just crazy. Like you just saw everything unfold, and it seemed like an hour at least that the towers were standing, and then it was like I remember when it started, when the first one fell, like my mother started to cry, and and like all she could think of was like those people that's trapped in there, you know they can't get out, you know what I'm saying, and they dying with the buildings coming down. Um, I remember like the people running in the street, from the smoke and everything, and like the whole day we just heard like sirens, like we heard fire engines, we heard cop cars the whole day, the whole night. The phone lines went down because everybody was trying to call each other and trying to get through to see their loved ones was okay. the phone lines. I remember I had a phone in my room. The phone lines, it just kept ringing out. It was like a busy signal. This the whole time.
The
When the
world
second,
stood still.
hmm?
The world stood still that day. Everybody
Yeah,
was holding their breath because nobody knew what was happening, and
right,
it was like this eerie feeling in the air,
mm-hmm.
like the world went cold.
Yes,
And the people
and
that are
then
not from New
mm,
York don't understand that the heart of the city doesn't feel the same.
right,
Like they took away the joy.
mm-hmm.
Like people come, like tourists come to see it, but like for New York, that's like a place where mothers and fathers, daughters and sons, they're not making home to their
Right.
families.
And then
So
when the second tower fell, the the TVs went out because like if you didn't have cable at that time, like to your connected to your TV, like you just had like the regular antenna, all that shit went out because like they had like the TV antennas on top of the roof. So once those towers fell, the TVs went out. So I remember my TV at that time, it wasn't I didn't have cable to my TV. Everything went black, and I'm like, yo, the TVs went out, the phone lines were just ringing out. So I had to go to my living room to watch the news and what was going on cable, and it was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? And we smelled like the jet fuel from the planes for weeks. That smell was in the air. I remember going out. I think it was I want to say the night after, and I had went to the store, and there was nobody in the street. It was like a ghost town. It was like what happened with the pandemic when they shut everything down. There was nobody out. It was like that. Nobody was outside. Everybody was inside. They were glued to like CNN. There was like the smoke like from the winds, like the smoke traveled, so you could depending on where you was, you could see the smoke in the air. It was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it was just like the whole city was like a feeling of loss and shock. I remember going to Ground Zero, like to see like the construction workers move the rubble and it was just crazy. Like just to see that, in person instead of like on TV, it was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? It was like
what it was for
mm,
me, it was seeing the people jump out the building from the top
yeah,
because once the plane hit in the middle, like kind of the
hmm,
middle, the people at the top were
yeah,
trapped. So then you see people jumping out of the buildings, trying
hmm,
to escape,
they
and
couldn't get out.
just seeing that, it was like it was just horrible. It was like, how can someone deliberately just do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how? And this also started the targeting of Muslims, the Islamic community, because they grouped the Islamic community as a whole for a group of people that use the Quran to propaganda bullshit. And I don't like people weaponizing the Quran, the Torah, the Bible to fit their agenda
Right,
because you're taking something that's supposed to be so sacred and so peaceful and trying to make it murderous and devilish. And throughout all the books it condones no killing. So it just be so annoying being Muslim and having a target on your back
right,
at all times because people are afraid or they misjudge you.
right,
And Muslims are not terrorists. We're not a violent group of religion. No religion is violent.
right,
I feel like you got people that pick and choose what they want to say out of these books and push their agenda, and it just go left for everybody involved.
right,
Um, Throughout my time in school, we talked about it. We talked about different scenarios. If it were to happen again, I'm definitely not going to say it on live. People out here are really retarded. Um, but New York as a whole is one of the biggest cities, and because we have the most buildings and stuff like that, I feel like now The police departments have better counterterrorism, the FBI, so there's better ways now to stop terrorist attacks now than it was back then. They have improved a lot over the years, so that's an amazing. Um, but it's just different.
Yeah.
Like I've been around the area where the World Trade Center is, like where it used to be, like the memorial, where the memorial now stands. It's just still kind of like there's still a lot of people that haven't been found, that probably will never be found. Um, but just watching the anniversary every year, the emotions, and people like, oh, they still crying, like, because it's tragic. You have to be there. You have to be in these people's shoes. These people lost loved ones. They've lost multiple family members, most likely, probably so. Officers died that day. People are still dying from related illnesses from that day.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, like when I went down to Ground Zero, it was like they had like a makeshift fence. So they had like people bringing in candles and cards and teddy bears, and it was just the whole area down there has changed forever. I used to go down there all the time and shop, and a lot of the like mom and pop stores are gone for good, and I have not been to the museum like since they started it. I have not been down there. They call Wi-Fi acting.
But it's I still can't believe it's been 23 years. That's crazy. It feels like yesterday when you think about it. And just educating people on, especially the younger kids that are coming up now. I work with a lot of kids that are younger than me. And I just let them know, I'm like, don't watch the videos because it's too much emotion and you won't understand that type of emotion. I know learning about 9/11 and the history is a fascinating thing, but I feel like there's just a lot of questions still not answered. There's still a lot of big question marks surrounding the 9/11 attacks. Like I said, the justice system, they did get better with their counterterrorism units. So these officers are trained for every scenario. There are more units there between state and federal level. So they have gotten better. But just watching terrorists, not even just terrorists, international terrorism, because so there's two types of terrorism that I learned studying criminal justice. There's international terrorism and then there's domestic terrorism. So a lot of the stuff that are here in the U.S. is considered domestic. Anything that's international is something in other countries. But even terrorist attacks don't have to be an outside force. It could be people right here that have been radicalized to believing the bullshit that's put online. So you just have to, especially make sure you watch the kids coming up, because social media is a big thing for these children. They're easy to me. I want to say a lot of them are easy impressionable, but some of them are. So you just have to be careful what your kids are watching. Because that's like one of the ways that a lot of these crazies like to draw people in. I'm gonna call them what they are. They're crazies. They're people that believe the things that are being taught to them or they're spewing. But we just have to be mindful, especially on everybody, not just Muslims, but all religion, and how we treat people, and don't group people into a category because it's not fun, especially being a minority. They like, oh, all minorities are criminals. What? Listen, we're not all gangbangers and criminals, bro. Like, we're not all stupid. We don't all smoke pot and drink and party. Like, that's like how they say all Americans are lazy. I'm like, no, we're not all lazy. Like, You know, you got a handful that are, you got some handful of people that are not, but like we're not all the same. So we just have to be mindful on judging before you get to know anybody, any religion, because that plays a big part on stigmas. Um, but one cool thing that I did have in my archives that I was telling is a birthday card I bought myself last year. Of all things, 93. A lot of cool facts. So things was cheap back in the 90s. It was the best time to be alive. I don't care what nobody says. You know, food was cheap. Food tastes like food. You know,
like food.
Yeah, like fast food actually tastes like fast food. But you know, it was a great time to be alive. Besides, another thing that Mr. Triborough has brought to my attention was about the Long Island Railroad mass shooting.
Ferguson, yeah.
Yes, that man, something was wrong with him. Okay, that man was crazy. So that occurred on December 7th of 1993. That was another big event for New York.
You know what? Why you when you said 93? Because I remember that was 93, and there's a Das EFX song that they actually mentioned his name. I'm like, oh, I remember when he did what he did with the Long Island Railroad.
I was about 2.5 months at the time that this occurred. But it's not funny, but it's like going through the timeline and going through the 90s. It's like just like wow, like he was black from what I see. Yeah, he was. Well, we're gonna assume he's black.
I want to say he was black and Caribbean too, if I'm not mistaken.
We'll find out more about him in a minute. Find out about his life and what made him want to just go on a killing spree.
Right.
You know, because there's a documentary. I found out there's a documentary on the massacre on Prime. So you have Prime. You can definitely go on Amazon Prime. It's the Long Island Railroad Massacre. They call him a crazy gunman. I don't think the word crazy is a nice word to call people.
He was crazy though.
I feel like he probably had a mental illness. Let's leave like that.
Right.
He probably most likely had a mental illness. That's not excusing his behavior, guys. I'm just saying let's dive deep into his life and him as a person before we start calling people crazy. He probably had a mental episode and snapped. Who really knows? Nobody really knows what went on in his head in that moment. But he did kill 6 people, injuring 19, according to this website over here called Google. It was 30 years ago, almost 31 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's just fascinating how some people just wake up one day and snap. His mom was just.
Yeah, you could join. He wants to join. You could join it live.
Yeah, most definitely. How you invite people?
Invite him.
He got. How do I do this thingy?
I
do know how to invite him, but it's not letting me.
Let you invite him?
No.
Why not?
I don't know how to work this thing.
Freezy, can you?
All right, I think I figured.
Okay.
I think I figured out.
Okay.
Hopefully. We're going to figure out more about Mr. Colin. His name is Colin. We're going to find out more about Mr. Colin and his mindset. We're going to try to unlock the fuckery of this man. Okay. Since he just out here shoot people and shit. Let's see why he woke up one day.
No, that's where you come in. You have to figure out why he did what he did.
Well, we're going to figure this out right now.
I mean, I don't know why.
He took a semi-automatic pistol. Yeah, so we're going to figure this out, why he did what he did. We're going to unlock the mind of this mass murderer. He's not a serial killer, guys. There's a difference. So apparently he was born January 14th, 1958 in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Queens. Well, I don't know why I say Queens. But we're going to assume it says Queens because You know, we have in Jamaica, Queens. He's considered a mass murderer, not a serial killer. He shot and killed 6 people on Long Island Railroad in 1993, December 7th.
Did you send him the invite? You sent Uncle the invite?
Yeah, I did.
So he got to accept the invite, Freezy.
If I did it right, I searched his name up.
You gotta do the like send him the request.
I know.
Okay.
All right, I did it again, so hopefully this works.
Yeah, and Instagram be tripping sometimes.
Right. Oh, so apparently it says he had a partiality towards the New York City mayor, Mayor Dinkins' territory.
Oh yeah,
that's when he
David
opened fire
Dinkins.
at.
Yeah, David Dinkins.
Yeah. So it says that he waited until the train was out of range of Mayor Dinkins' territory before he opened fire. He was overpowered by the passengers after the shooting. So I guess wherever. So I guess he waited till he got outside of New York City, like the 5 boroughs, because Long Island is technically not part of the 5 boroughs. It's still Long Island, but that's Nassau County. You know, still New York.
Right.
But that's not the 5 boroughs. He is currently serving a 200-year sentence. Damn.
Oh wow. So he's never getting out.
Let's be realistic. Would you think there's ever opportunity for the girl, Jeff?
I mean that's why I don't hear about him. I'm like, oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah, not too much on the man on this little thingy. Right. He shot a total of 25 people about 5:33 p.m.
Crazy.
But there's not really much. He killed 6 people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even remember him getting sentenced and all that. I just remember the whole event that he did.
He was tried in many other Long Island.
Right.
But there's not much fact about his life story or that. It's just news articles about.
So you think he just had like a mental breakdown and then he just snapped?
Probably so. I'm not going to assume. It says that he was African Jamaican.
Yeah, he was Caribbean.
Yeah. He received 315 years and 18 months to life, meaning he's current earliest possible parole date is August 6th of 2309.
He ain't getting out.
The judge said Colin Ferguson will never return to society and will spend the rest of his natural life in prison. No shit. Sherlock. We wasn't hoping that nigga was never coming.
No.
It says that he was born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah.
To Yvonne Herman and May Ferguson, according to Wikipedia. I don't know how accurate Wikipedia is. Don't quote me on this shit. Okay. But that's what Wikipedia says. But if you go on YouTube, there is an episode on him, episode 38. True crimes all the time. If you want to hear about more of this sick bastard, I'm gonna just start naming these motherfuckers retarded. Something.
Where you at, yo? Send a request. I don't think he got the request from you.
I sent it twice. I done told you I'm not on Instagram. I'm 30, okay? I'm not Instagram life, man. I'm MySpace and AOL. Give me some MySpace and AOL and we in business.
Send a request to her. Send a request to her so she can accept it.